Howdy, folks. I'm a block of moldy cheese.
This is Brian. I'm Amber. And here's some Reddit.
I'm taking a vacation, so Amber's just gonna do this thing for me.
Oh, am I now?
Yeah.
That's news to me. I thought I was just reading 2 stories.
You're reading just 2 stories? Well, we should call you 2-Story Amber then.
Okay.
All right, folks. That makes it sound like a house.
I know.
I was like, as soon as the words left my mouth, I was like, I just called Amber a house. It was really pretty rude of me. Amber's like...
Plus, I'm so short. I'd be a 1-story house. I'd be
Yeah.
like a dog house. Maybe a child's playhouse. Like, that's probably what type of house I'd be.
Amber's a dollhouse. If you could be a house, what kind of house would you be? Let us know in the comments below. The strangest questions ever. Brought to you by Brian's Advice. If you're ever looking for advice, probably this isn't the place to turn. Brian's Advice. All right. Our first story is titled, Am I a Jerk for Proposing to Girlfriend with a Plastic Ring as a Joke? So, context. I'm a 35-year-old male and my girlfriend is a 30-year-old female, and we've been together for 5 years. She has made it known for the past at least 3 years that she wants to get married. I always tell her to wait and see, and it'll happen one day. Last night, I was out with a few buddies and I got a little tipsy. While I was out, I went to an arcade machine for fun. I won a stupid plastic ring. In my tipsy state, I was like, aha, you know what would be a really great idea? If I pretended to propose to my girlfriend with this. Cue buddies laughing and agreeing. I got home after midnight and woke my girlfriend up. Shameful in itself, I know. And I told her to get out of bed with a quick and urgent tone. She was worried and asked what was wrong. I told her to sit on the edge of the bed. I then went down on one knee and presented her with the little ring and asked, "Will you marry me?" and burst out laughing. I didn't quite get the reception I expected.
What I wonder is, what did OP expect?
I don't know. Maybe he was expecting her to kick him in the face.
Oh.
I don't know. I don't know what you would expect out of this situation. Was he expecting her to be like, haha, you're such a jokester, haha.
You pulled me out of bed past midnight to fake propose to me with a toy ring.
Aren't you the nicest, sweetest man ever? Said no one ever. She asked me angrily if I was for real and then threw a pillow at me. She went into the bathroom and when I followed her, she was crying. I was still tipsy and I couldn't stop laughing. Bad, I know. She was crying and saying, I can't believe you find this funny. You know how much this means to me to get married. You take a special moment away by getting on your knee as a joke. I stupidly asked her how does she know it's a joke. Then she said, it better be with that ring. I told her that she's right, it is a joke, but she's way over the top now. Then I get into bed and sleep. Today, she's been crying on and off about me making a mockery of her and our relationship. I've said I'm sorry until I'm blue in the face. But a big part of me thinks she also is overreacting and it's childish. The ironic thing is I do plan to propose to her for real soon. But I feel like this is something she needs to get over, or am I just a jerk?
Just a jerk.
So, it sounds like OP is well aware that he's a jerk. Like, he's just like, well, I think she's overreacting. And, like, throughout the whole thing, they're like, yeah, I know this was bad of me, and I know this was bad of me, and, you know, I know this was bad of me.
But shouldn't she just have, like, rolled with it? And it's like, no, dude, you're taking something that's very important to her and, like, making a mockery of it.
Yeah, well, you know, I saw this video where this guy keeps proposing to his girlfriend at Disney, and, like, she gets really frustrated and angry because, like everyone thinks that this is a special moment, and he's not really serious, and it's like putting a lot of intention on her that she doesn't like and stuff like that. And I imagine that in this, in similar vein, that this is kind of like feels something like a big joke where he's not really serious about marrying her ever.
Yeah, well, he's been more or less, I mean, she's been saying for 3 years that she's wanting this to happen, and he's been like, oh yeah, it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen.
Yeah, he's been leading her on for like 3 years, and then he chose now to like make a joke or a mockery of it. So I think she has every right to be hurt.
Yeah. Our next story is, am I the jerk for driving my sister-in-law's car even though she explicitly told me not to? Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, how could OP not be the jerk? Well, have I got a story for you. My sister-in-law and I normally get along okay. We aren't super close, but we're civil. My sister-in-law has a super nice older car that she doesn't let anyone drive, not even her wife. That's fine and dandy with me. I'm not big on driving, and I wouldn't want to risk messing up someone's prized possession. On to the issue. I was over at sister-in-law's house with my sister-in-law and her 19-year-old daughter, Leslie, who I'm very close to. My husband dropped me off before leaving on a business trip 6 hours drive away. My sister-in-law was going to give me a ride home, or I'd get an Uber. We were outside in the garden, and Leslie ended up falling and severely injuring her leg. We would later find out that she had a severe fracture in 2 separate bones in her leg. Leslie was screaming in pain, and my sister-in-law thought she was faking and kept telling her to shut the F up. I kept trying to tell my sister-in-law that we needed to take her daughter to the hospital, but sister-in-law would hear none of it and kept telling her daughter to suck it up. At that point, I told sister-in-law I was calling an ambulance as she refused to drive her daughter to the hospital. Sister-in-law freaked out at this and said that it was too expensive, and since her daughter was on her insurance, she'd be on the hook for it. She said that if I called an ambulance, she'd kick her daughter off of her insurance. Ordinarily at this point, I'd call my husband for help, but he was already 3+ hours away. So I asked if I could use her car and take her daughter about 10 minutes away to the hospital. Sister-in-law rolled her eyes at me and chuckled and sarcastically said, I couldn't give 2 F's less what you guys do. I know that wasn't exactly a yes, and that she was being sarcastic, but it was to the point that Leslie was vomiting due to the pain, so I got her into sister-in-law's car and drove her to the hospital. When sister-in-law realized I was serious, she started blowing up my phone saying she was going to call the cops and report her car as stolen. I told her to do it, and that I'd rather my niece be safe and me be in jail than anything else. She didn't end up calling the cops in the end because she called my mother-in-law to complain. Mother-in-law blew up on her about her behavior towards Leslie and told her if she called the cops, mother-in-law would consider cutting her off financially. I'm now banned from sister-in-law's house and she refuses to speak to me or my husband. She also kicked my niece off of her medical insurance. My husband and I are now paying for a private policy for niece and has told Leslie that if she sees us, she'll be kicked out. If that does happen, we've told Leslie that she's welcome to stay in our guest room as long as she needs. So am I the jerk for essentially committing grand theft auto of a car my sister-in-law has repeatedly told everyone never to drive because it's her baby?
What do you folks think? Let us know. Do you think that OP is a jerk for stealing the car?
I'm gonna go with not the jerk here.
Grand theft auto? Like, you know what, OP? Sometimes it's very hard to read sarcasm. So, it sounds like to me she gave you permission. So you're not the jerk here.
Well, and like, who does that? Like, your child is like screaming in pain, throwing up from the pain, and you're like, just suck it up?
Well, she was clearly faking it.
Yeah, that's some serious faking. Like,
she was really good at faking it.
Like, at least this child is an adult, so she can get out of her mom's house hopefully soon.
Yeah.
Because like, if she was a literal child, I'd be worried about child endangerment with that kind of attitude.
Yeah. Our next letter is titled, Am I a jerk for asking teenage boy if my 4-year-old can have his claw machine prize? This afternoon, I was at the arcades with my 4-year-old daughter. We spent a good few pounds on the toy machine. trying to win her a Monsters, Inc. soft toy. A group of teenage boys were interacting with us, trying to give us pointers on how to win. To be honest, they were pretty annoying, but I was polite. After a while, I told her that we had spent enough now. Sorry, but we have to stop. She was crying that she didn't win. One of the boys played the machine and we watched them. He won the second go around, which made my daughter even more upset. I asked him if my daughter could please have the toy, as it would mean a lot to her. He went all awkward and silent, and then one of his friends said that it was rude of me to ask. I ignored that boy and carried on talking to the boy with the toy. I said I'd give him £2, because that's how much he spent. He then laughed and said, "Sorry, no ma'am, but it's mine." The other boy then called me an idiot. So I told him that he was rude and obviously is not raised right. Everyone was staring at us, as the second boy and me were a little loud, I guess. I didn't think it was an outrageous request, but when I told my daughter's dad about it, he said it kind of is.
Yeah, I'm gonna say OP's the jerk here.
Yeah? Why? Perfectly reasonable request.
No, it's not.
You know, actually, to be quite honest, I don't know if it was super out of line to ask.
Well, I don't think you ask people to hand over their possessions.
But
and claw machines are so finicky that,
Yeah.
this isn't a toy that would normally cost £2.
No, I think she lowballed him for sure. I think, she should have offered a more reasonable price if she wanted to, get the claw machine toy off of him.
So, and it's not a good lesson to teach your daughter that you can just try and beg stuff away from people. Because,
Yeah.
actually, when I was little, I had a manipulative streak. But I remember when I was 8 years old, I was a cute, adorable little kid, and I used that, charm to my advantage. So I remember one time I was at the Hope Festival, which was, this festival where people, raise monies for good causes and teach people about good causes and whatnot. And there were these women selling jewelry, and I kept begging my mom for a pair of earrings, and she kept saying she didn't have the money, and the ladies eventually gave me the earrings I wanted, and which was what I was hoping, because I knew my mom didn't have the money. So it's not a good lesson to imbue in kids that if you just beg enough then you can get things.
Yeah, well, where I say that it wasn't necessarily just plain straight up begging is that she did offer to pay for it, and I think offering to pay is a legitimate means of acquiring it.
Yeah, I mean, I think if she had outright offered him maybe what the toy was more worth.
Yeah, I think that the low ball of it, oh well, you only paid £2 for it, so I'm only gonna offer you that. And the boy, it may have been a kind gesture for him to offer the toy. If I had been in his position, I'm a softie, I probably would have just given the toy up to the little girl. Amber's yeah, that would be Brian.
That would be. But claw machines are fickle.
They're very fickle.
One year we were at the Bangor State Fair, and my sister told me she'd gone to somewhere with her class, and they had a claw machine, and she told me how good she was at it. And so, she kept asking me for more and more money, and she kept not getting anything. So finally, I took a stab at it. And I got it was a Care Bear machine, and I got Level Up Bear. I think it was my first or second try I pulled it. And then she was like, okay, let me try again. So I gave her more money, and she still didn't get it. So eventually I took over. I ended up spending $20 to get those 2 little Care Bear plushes, because I ended up getting a second one eventually.
Yeah, well, it takes a lot of money to basically get something out of those claw machines. You're essentially buying the toy. So it's kind of a tricky way to convince people to buy something that you wouldn't normally buy, because you have that sunk cost fallacy where you're oh well, I already put $1 in. If I put another $1 in, it's not really going to be that much, but I've already put $2 in, so I really need to get something out of this.
Yeah, well, that's it. It's but it's the end, because the first Care Bear I got pretty quickly, but then after my sister spent more money, I was well, I want to get something for this money, and so I ended up spending a heck ton more money.
Yeah. It's a very interesting psychologically manipulative tool that these companies use to get money out of you.
Yeah. Our next story is, am I the jerk for how I responded after my husband asked why I'm being so unladylike in front of my whole family? To begin, I'd like to mention that my husband, who's 39, is the breadwinner. He works in airlines as a pilot and is always working, while I'm a stay-at-home mom taking care of our home and our 3 kids, 5 years, 3 years, and 6 months. Lately, we've been having a few arguments with him, complaining about me not taking care of myself and my looks, and being always busy with chores and whatnot. I wonder why OP's so busy with chores.
Why is she so busy with all the chores? Why are you so busy with all these chores?
We got invited to my parents' house last night. Once we sat down for dinner, Mom, sister, and I started talking about preparations for my sister's wedding. My sister talked about her hair, makeup, dress, etc. My husband kept giving me looks and raising his eyebrow whenever the words haircut or makeup or new dress got brought up. He decided to pitch in the conversation and started openly criticizing my current look and how unladylike I've become recently, especially after our 3rd child was born. He went on commenting on how much he'd like me to change my hair color, get my nails done, or buy new, nice dresses to wear like the other wives do for once.
So, okay. I'm gonna stop right here. Buy your wife a spa day and babysit your children.
Just a thought, yeah.
Maybe, just maybe, she would take advantage of that and be grateful that she has a kind and loving and caring husband who will give her time off from the madness of 3 children, all who are basically toddlers, 5 and under.
Yeah. I was stunned, mouth wide open, and so were my parents. Brother-in-law was laughing secretly, and my sister was looking at me head to toe in a poor sister type of way. My husband didn't stop at that and then ranted about how I should start taking care of us and be more energetic, positive, outgoing, sexy, and so on and so on. Then he looked at me and asked why I've come to be so unladylike all of a sudden, and kept looking at me in a whatever happened to you, what changed type of way. I was mad. I loudly said, behind every unladylike, miserable woman, there's a trashy, negative, jerkish man, and pointed out what changed, and that is him not pulling enough weight in childcare, delaying, making excuses, and putting house chores upon me constantly, while he posts on Facebook about what an amazing work he does to provide for us. I cook, clean, wash, do laundry, get up with the baby, and feed and change and bathe, and so on. He reminded me that I am the stay-at-home parent and he's the moneymaker. I pointed out that there are a lot of dads who are moneymakers and still do their part as partners and parents. He was stunned, dumbfounded, as everyone was looking at him in an awkward, embarrassing way. He got quiet the rest of the visit, just looking down and avoiding eye contact with everyone in the room. He blew up in the car, asking what the heck possessed me to go off on him like that in front of his in-laws, who now have a very false, very misleading impression of him. He said no matter what happens, I should never share our private issues with family. I reminded him of who brought it up first, and he called me petty for making a scene to get back at him, only for giving me some innocent advice.
Oh yeah, so you can never talk about your problems with your relationship problems with anyone, because then you might realize how bad your relationship problems are.
He's sulking right now. Did I go too far? Info. To give some background, I'm not neglecting myself. I do my hair at home. I do activities and wear eye, but not full makeup. My husband says I should do more for myself, like go to the salon with my sister or friends, and go shop for new dresses. He says he's just giving me advice, and this topic isn't something I should be upset about. I might have been on the oversensitive side lately, but I feel like he was being pushy and he thinks I've ruined his relationship with my family with what I said.
I mean, straight up, OP's not the jerk in this situation. Yeah. Like, what is wrong with this guy? Like, this is, like, when OP starts to talk about the problems in rebuttal, oh, now it's a problem. But when he brings them up, it's just fine. What a blatant hypocrite. Like, and he's not even helping out around the house, so it's not like she's saying anything that's untrue.
Right.
And there are lots of guys out there who will, or, people who have these family structures that people will pull the weight in the relationship. So, yeah, you need to pull your own weight. Plain and simple. She's taking care of 3 children under 5. A 6-month-old? That's gotta be a lot of work.
Yeah, well,
it must be exhausting.
Exactly, and it sounds like she's doing all the feeding, so she's getting up at night to feed the child and change the child and all that stuff, so she's probably not getting a ton of sleep.
Yeah, but I mean, he's providing an income.
Yeah. Well, and how does he expect her to, like, have the ability to go to the salon and go shopping when she has a 5, 3, and 6-month-old?
Yeah.
Like,
here's some advice, OP. Get a divorce, collect alimony, and then you won't have to deal with him. And then you can hire a babysitter on the weekends. No, it's not that simple of a solution.
It's not,
and it's hard. And I'm not saying that. I think that this is one of those situations where maybe this is going to be the impetus that he needs to change, and I hope so.
I hope, but the problem is he seems to be blaming OP when really what this situation should be telling him is that he messed up big time.
Yeah. This is a huge red flag, and I really feel bad for OP because OP is just trying to take care of their 3 children, and it sounds like she's doing all of the everything around the house, and that's got to make for a busy day.
Yeah.
All right, folks, that's all the time we have for today. Thanks to Amber for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Happy Monday.
Yes, happy Monday.
Amber's usually joining me on Friday Junior.
Yes.
Today it is Monday.
The stories were too good. I knew I would want to say my piece, and so I was like, I want to read too.
Yeah. Well, just for information, Amber can join me anytime she wants. Sometimes she just doesn't feel like it.
Well, a lot of times I'm busy.
So she's always welcome on here. But sometimes she's like, I really want to give my opinion. I'm like, you can join me, Amber, if you want to. And she's like, I can't.
Well, so I took him up on it today.
Yeah. So, really great stories. Hopefully you enjoyed them. Hopefully you have a great day. And hopefully you have a great long weekend, too. Continuing to. And if you get today off. So, yeah. Take care, and we'll see you all tomorrow.
Bye.